Hello and welcome to the 4th episode of Annie Chatbox. I'm here today as your host and puppeteer. That works.
I'm scared.
Because everyone here is on strings. But anyway, so I figured we'd go around and everyone could introduce themselves and who decided to be here in a live studio event. Which means we're all crowded around one microphone in my bedroom. But anyway, why don't you introduce yourselves, guys?
All right. Hello, Annie Babes and Annie Bros. It's Cami here with the hostess with the mostest, Cassie, and Craig, who got dragged here against his own will. Welcome.
Hey, guys. As mentioned, my name is Craig. I like to party, you know. The magic word is whiskey. As just previously stated, I was dragged here against my will. I don't know why I'm here, but...
He's still drunk from the night before.
You don't get me started!
But anyway, we're all here today to discuss a very, very important holiday to us because we like specials. Because as Cami put it, we're fancy. And today we decided to discuss a wonderful little holiday that comes only once a year. So today we're going to discuss Christmas and what it means to Japan, and more importantly, what it means to us here in the States. Not that Japan isn't as important, but we want to discuss what it means to us personally as people who reside in the United States of A, and how our values and what we feel Christmas is about may or may not be different from our counterparts overseas. So we thought we would get started here with discussing what it is that we all love about Christmas and what it means to us. And I'll start because I'm here and I'm talking already. So Christmas to me has always been about tradition more than anything else. It's about getting together as a family. It's about talking and sharing and basically just loving each other's company. Kind of like Thanksgiving, but a little bit more so because we also participate in giving each other gifts. Up until very recently when everybody kind of moved away and went to different states, we even had a little secret Santa that the kids would have a secret Santa and then the adults would have a secret Santa. So the kids would draw the kids' names. So I'd get like my cousin Emily or my cousin Ian, and they would vice versa. We draw them out of a hat, like a magic trick of money that our parents would spend and not us. But we felt that we bought the gifts because we picked them out ourselves. And over the years, it's basically stayed that way. Even though I'm so far away, my grandma will still send me cookies, and we all try to exchange gifts as best we could. We can't do the Secret Santa anymore, obviously, because everybody's so far away, but we do exchange gifts and try and tell each other how much we love each other. Obligatory phone calls all across the United States of A. And it's just a very humbling and happy time of the year. One other thing I love to mention is that my mom has this specific tradition that the night before on Christmas Eve, we'll give each other pajamas. And what's really cool is that even though I'm now across the country, she still sends me pajamas in the mail every year. So that's how Christmas goes for me. What about you, sweet Camille?
Oh, full name there, folks. All right. Well, Christmas, again, like Cassie said, I think is really all about just like little traditions that happen each year. With my family, decorating the tree together is always a tradition that we have, getting the family tree set up and listening to certain music. Like we always play the Charlie Brown Christmas soundtrack. We play the Nutcracker soundtrack, which was my favorite growing up. Oh, yes. And on Christmas Eve, we'll each open one gift of our choice. And my mom likes to nudge at a specific present if there are pajamas in there, because sometimes we do that too. So we're like, no, do this one now. It'll be good. There are a couple neighborhoods around here that we'll drive through to look at all the Christmas lights. And then my dad always reads a version of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. And it's a really charming one with a black Santa and black family, so we love it a lot. And my dad reads it with so much gusto every year.
Your dad just has a very calming demeanor in general.
My dad was a radio host for many years, actually. So he loves to talk and he's very animated. So
he'd be very proud of you.
I hope so. I hope so. Christmas music is also huge for me. You know, there are songs that I listen to every year. And it's about family. We do a Christmas Eve dinner, and then Christmas Day morning, we always have cinnamon rolls and open presents and stuff. So, yeah, good family times and lots of little quirky traditions that stay each year. What about you, Craig?
What do you do?
I don't do anything.
You're alive. I do know that you have a relatively big family, so how does that go down?
Basically, I touched on it briefly during the Thanksgiving pod, but really just get together with my stepdad's immediate family on the day, Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, either one, to just open up presents and whatnot over at their place, eat the traditional bird and ham with all the fixins, and then really on the Christmas morning, despite being way older than my sister, God bless her, being 16 going on 17 this year, will be still wake up at the ass crack of dawn and be like, hey
it's
guys,
Yes.
wake up, Craig, it's Christmas. And I'm just saying, hey, no, I like sleep. Don't do that to me. But then I go down the stairs, passed out essentially, and they toss crap at me, and I'm like, okay, thank you. Oh, look, it's what I wanted. Oh, thank you, Santa. But my mom also, like Cami's mom, makes the cinnamon rolls. My mom makes a stellar breakfast casserole. So we dig into that, say thank you for all the gifts, and I spoil people rotten, as these two ladies would know, so...
As per Craig, all year round, not just
Yeah.
Christmas.
Shit.
Did your guys' family also, because I always was excited about this, we would put out cookies for Santa and carrots for the reindeer.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Like the oats or whatever they were. Yeah.
I was always so much more excited about the reindeer eating the carrots than Santa eating the cookies.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Also, did you guys do the thing where you would try and figure out what was in the boxes before?
Once in a while, yeah. Do the shaking and stuff.
See, my mom got clever about that because apparently that's what me and my sister would do. We would look for the ones with our names on it and we would try and figure it out. So my mom, being the jerk that she was. Okay, so you gotta listen. My mom loved fucking with us as children. Like one day, did your mom ever do that thing where she's like, my name isn't mom anymore? And she wouldn't respond. That's what my mom did. She was just like, my name isn't mom anymore. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I'm not going to respond unless you say that. So me and my sister spent like the entire day trying to figure out how to say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious because my mom would ignore us otherwise.
That's so awkward.
No. And another thing that she did was when she found out that we did that, and to this day she still does this. I guess it's just out of tradition of her fucking with us, but she specifically chose specifically colored wrapping paper for my sister's presents, and then specifically colored wrapping paper for my presents. And it would be like 3 different colors for each of us. So we wouldn't know which gifts were ours underneath the Christmas tree. Only she knew because they were color coordinated. Oh my God. So we couldn't even go and shake the boxes and figure out which ones were ours or try and guess because we didn't know which ones were ours in the first place. So
that is elaborate.
So it's a grab bag essentially. What would happen if you grabbed your sister's gift?
Well, no, because it wouldn't be we grabbed our presents. We couldn't. My mom would on Christmas morning go, okay, all of these, let's say it was wrapping paper that was red with candy canes on it. Oh, all of these are Cassie. So she would give me those. She would be like the Santa of the morning, go around and distribute our piles. It wouldn't be, oh, I picked this under the tree and guess and open it. That's not how it worked. And of course the ones from Santa were specifically colored as well.
So that actually brings me to another conversation I wanted to bring up where in the morning when we open presents, we have this very distinct like way that we do it where there's all of us and then we each grab a present and we have to go in this like fucking round, which my mom is so adamant about. And then someone ends up playing distributor of presents. Usually it's my dad. But then the other thing my mom gets so fixated on is that she, like, everybody has to be watching the other person open the present.
My mom did that too.
Seriously?
Same.
So my brothers would always, like, just mess with her. So she'd be in the kitchen getting, like, coffee or something, and then they just take some paper that's already there and they're crinkling it around, like, oh my gosh, look what you got me! And she came out and she was so mad because we just, like, mess with her.
I wish that I had done that, but no, we did the same thing. We sat in like almost like Indian style circle with our legs crossed, Indian style, and we would just open. It would be like, oh, Cassie's turn to open a present. Oh, Drea's turn to open a present. Oh, Mike's turn.
I remember when the Nintendo 64 launched. I was in my PJs, my onesie. Me and my little brother Gabe were in our onesies, and we were just like. I hold up the Nintendo 64, Brad, I have bushy tail with a giant grin on my face. And that tradition still continues to this day where my mom and my stepdad will just essentially take photos of everyone just going to town on paper and just putting it in giant, like, hefty trash bags.
Those were great. I can't wait to have my own kids to see that smile and happiness on their face.
Oh my gosh, nice.
But that's how we celebrate Christmas. How they celebrate it in Japan is very, very different. Much like, Thanksgiving is just a very different holiday in general. Over there, it's not the same
Labor
thing.
Day.
But when it comes to, for example, Halloween, they don't celebrate it exactly the same way either. And we touched on this briefly with Thanksgiving. It's more of a cute thing. Well, Christmas in Japan is more of a dating holiday, specifically Christmas Eve. Christmas Day isn't even a national holiday there. So Christmas Day, everybody goes to work.
Okay.
Wow.
Everybody just continues business as usual. They might recognize that it's Christmas Day, but Christmas isn't Christmas there.
You gotta work.
What?
You gotta work.
Well, what I was going to say is that in a lot of cases, even here, people don't recognize Christmas as a Christian holiday. But by and by, that's exactly what it is. That's where its roots are. Only about 1% to 2% of the population, and this was taken in about 2014 when I did my research, and it may have gone up since, but in 2014, at least from the records I was able to find, only about 1% to 2% of the Japanese population is Christian.
Right.
Or even, and that being said, like, they don't know necessarily Christian beliefs. I think Buddhism is the biggest thing in Japan. I probably should have followed that up with more. But I know that's how it is in China. It's mostly Buddhism. But the point of the matter is that if they're not if they're not practicing Buddhism, they're practicing some other form. I think Shintoism is also a big thing in Japan. Christianity is not a thing for the most part. They might recognize that it exists, but not many people are practicing it or necessarily believe those beliefs. So that being said, they don't necessarily have the same belief system or celebrate the exact same way. Now, they do, as far as I can see, decorate trees. They have the Christmas decor, but that's what it is. It's decor. Christmas cakes are also a big thing in Japan, which from what I was able to find, they're typically a sponge cake of some kind with either stars or a little Santa or some decorated whipped cream on top. And what's cool is that now that I think back on it, that's in so much anime.
Yes.
Bringing home a Christmas cake. Like even in, for example, one that just came to my mind, I Can't Understand What My Husband is Saying. Like they both had to work. Or she had to work. He was just being lazy because he didn't have a job at the time. But
Good job.
they had a Christmas party, which Christmas parties are also a thing in Japan. But it's not the waking up and getting Christmas presents necessarily, even though that is a thing there. It's not the biggest part. It's more about spreading happiness and just being happy with your friends and your family and your significant other, which is where Christmas Eve comes into play. Christmas Eve is like the biggest dating holiday in Japan. And I actually read a story, and I know I'm talking a lot, I promise I'll turn this over to the other hosts eventually, but I did read a story about a guy who went overseas and was dating a Japanese woman. And she called him and asked him, hey, do you have any plans for Christmas Eve? And he's like, typical baiting of a girlfriend. I had no idea what she was on about. And he's like, so I was like, oh, do you want to go out to dinner? And that's when she brightened up. And then he's like, oh, and I showed up. And of course I was wearing the same clothes I had worn to work. And she showed up all dolled up, expecting something else. And she was not particularly pleased when he wanted to take her to a regular restaurant bar that they'd been to previously. He didn't understand that it was a special date night. And that's the thing. In Japan, specifically on Christmas Eve, it's all about couples. It's all about bringing your significant other to that 5-star restaurant. It's about really spreading that romantic feeling. And I love it because Christmas does feel a little romantic sometimes with the lights and the... and even though it's not as official here, I think a lot of people like to go on dates around Christmas. If not on Christmas Day itself, because almost everything's closed here, Christmas Eve or a couple days before, a lot of people will go on little Christmas dates. It's also that time of year where we see a lot more jewelry commercials.
Every kiss begins with K.
Every kiss begins with K.
Hashtag not an ad.
But yeah, so that being said, I thought we could discuss very quickly what our favorite scenes in anime might be, or what our favorite Christmas dates might be in anime, and also maybe talk about how the differences between Japan and hear kind of how we feel about them, since I've been rambling for a hot minute.
I got one.
What?
Persona 4.
Oh my God.
You get to date, you go after the girl of your dreams. You have a choice between Chie, Yukiko, Rise, and Naoto. And then once you get locked into a relationship with them, you go on a special date with them on Christmas Eve, and you get chocolates, or you get
Really?
her chocolates.
And can't only like one of them, is it all terrible chocolate, or does someone get you good chocolate? Because if I remember, a lot of them can't cook. So it's like, or bake, I guess. So it was like really lethal.
Cook, bake, potato.
I was about to say, I can't remember if it was good or bad chocolate. I just remember it's just like you're chilling in your bedroom and it's just like, oh yeah, this date is going swimmingly. We're going to watch a movie and just ride this out. But in anime wise, the only Christmassy thing that I can think of is like Love Hina. There's like an OVA of it essentially where main dude, Keitaro, whatever his face was, he's like, I'm gonna get Naru a nice gift, and everything was closed for the holidays. Damn it.
Shit, damn it.
Damn it. That's all I got.
One of the first ones that came to mind for me, and I'll try not to do any spoilers, but there's a Christmas episode in the anime Kobato that is really sweet. Like, it's one of the cutest things I've ever seen. It pulls the really wonderful thing that a lot of anime Christmas episodes do, where like right at a key moment, it just starts snowing and it's so pretty. And in this scene, she is just kind of dancing around in the snow, really happy about something. And there's like the resolve of a misunderstanding. And it's just kind of sitting with very like tender feelings. And the character has a song that she always sings that she starts to sing again, and it just, I don't know, it makes me really happy. That's one of the like warm, fuzzy Christmas scenes that I have seen.
And I think that's what it's about when it comes to, especially in anime, Christmas always seems to be, or not always, because I'm going to bring up something that may not necessarily be as happy, but it gives you that feeling whether you're with family or friends or a significant other. Mm-hmm. Most of the time in anime, it's painted as something that's spreading happiness. I know in Toradora specifically, if anybody's seen Toradora, they have an episode where they sing a song, but it's not just about the Christmas party they're at. It's about what everyone is doing during the Christmas holiday, whether it be applying for a new apartment. In the case of the teacher, I think that's what she was doing. Or sitting home alone feeling kind of bummed, or being out and singing Christmas carols. And they showed like little kids, like with presents. And
Right.
It's just about being happy. But then they also have a lot of shows, like more recently we've got like March Comes In Like a Lion, which we're not going to have a huge spoiler on here. But, you know, Christmas isn't necessarily a happy thing for him. And it's because there's that lack of family. It's because there's that lack of a void to fill. So even then there's that Christmas spirit that's missing. And I mean, he asks over and over, like, when did this holiday become not fun for me? Meaning it used to be fun for him previously. I think that that's really the big deal there. If they're not able to have a happy Christmas in a lot of shows, it's because they're missing that family or that friend or that significant other, and they want that void to be filled. Even in Christmas-inspired animes, like I think it's called like My Santa or something. There's like a girl who's a Santa, and she comes to cheer up a guy who would otherwise be alone on Christmas or something.
I was about to say, I suppose that the common thread could be seen with all like commercialized holidays, the Valentine's Day being another one where it's just like, you can have it be romanticized, obviously, but then you have the other side of the coin where it's just like, man, those with that, like, just get your chocolate and then just go home and munch on chocolate. So, riding Han Solo, essentially.
I mean, like, that, and that probably will be something we talk about in February, but that's the same thing in Japan when it comes to, like, Valentine's Day. It is very much about you have that, like, special chocolate that you can give but there's also like obligatory chocolates that you can give to like family members and friends, and you know, you want to get lots of chocolates from the cute girls or cute boys, but you're not necessarily going to feel bad if you get, you know, a bunch of obligatory chocolates from friends, which I think is something cool that Japan does that we don't. Especially with like White Day and everything, but we'll talk about that in February.
To be fair, so one thing that Cassie mentioned that I think really is cool about just like having that family value there. So there's a film that I've seen that Cassie and Craig haven't seen yet, but it's called Tokyo Godfathers, and it's one of the closest things to like an anime Christmas film that you have. But it's a setup where there is a cross-dressing, actually, I think she identifies as a woman. There is a woman, there's an older drunkard, and there is a young woman, and they're homeless, and in a pile of garbage on Christmas Eve, they find a baby. And the entire journey of the story is them trying to, reunite this baby with its family. And then you also see how the three of them are kind of a patchwork family and how they had previous, like, family experiences. And that's really at the heart of that film. So again, I think that speaks really highly to what Cassie mentioned about that. Yeah, it's about family value.
I need to watch that movie.
It's Satoshi Kon. I recommend everybody see it.
Yeah, I hear good things.
God rest his soul. He was such a brilliant director.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that being said, now that we've talked a little bit about Christmas in general, how it is with us and how it is in Japan, I felt I should ask a special question that neither of you knew I was going to ask. Now, we do know that Japan, especially on Christmas Eve, it's more of a dating holiday. What were your guys' first dates like?
Oh, Lord.
Like, in general. And then afterwards, I was thinking, like, we could talk about our first dates and how awkward and silly they might have been. Then, what if those dates happened when it was Christmas in Japan?
Ooh, interesting twist.
How would it be different, do you think? And I'll start us out so you guys can think about it, because I knew I was going to ask this question. You guys didn't. So here's the thing. I really wish that my, first date had been with a really nice Japanese boy who may or may not know how to have a good first date. My first date was at a McDonald's. I was 16 years old, setting the scene. But granted, we were 16 and neither of us had a lot of money. And he had to travel pretty far to get to me, so I wasn't too picky, but I still did get him back because eventually, right when we got in there and we were in the McDonald's, I was like, okay, cool, order me something. Mm-hmm. And he was like, pardon? And I was like, I'm going to see how well you know me. Order me food. And he did a good job. He got me like chicken nuggets, which I feel is like the safest. That's the safest thing to do, though. I don't know if he actually knew or if he was just trying to be safe. And I feel like he was just trying to be safe because to top it off, he bought me like a fudge sundae.
Oh, yeah, that's getting real fancy there.
Yeah, those dollar sundaes.
Classy.
God knows I would put out after a dollar sundae.
Damn.
But no, that was my first date. I was 16 years old. What could you do? It's still kind of a fond memory, even though the guy was kind of a jerk. But I feel like if that date had happened on like Christmas Eve in Japan, maybe he would have known a little bit better of what I wanted and expected. I feel like there would have been at least a nice Christmas cake instead of a dollar sundae.
That'd be a nice spin on it.
I am not high maintenance, okay?
You just wanted that Christmas cake.
I just really wanted a Christmas
But
cake.
wasn't it kind of close because we didn't mention that there is like a huge affluence of KFC
and fast food, and you can actually I'm so happy you brought this up because in my research of Christmas in Japan, you can pre-order from your fast food restaurant your chicken. And KFC is a big thing over there because Christmas chicken is their thing. Yeah. Fried chicken specifically for whatever reason. But they also said like McDonald's sometimes gets like super orders from people like months in advance for Christmas.
So see, he was closer to the ideal image there on that
date
than you
thought. He didn't even know. Well, I also should probably mention that this took place in the middle of summer in Ohio. So hardly the location, but I mean, it was our first date and my first date of my entire life that I'll never get back. So I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little disappointed. But it's okay because he tried. And he got me a sundae.
Hey, A+ for effort, right?
So, Cami, give us the dirty deets.
So, funny enough, my first date took place right around Christmas time, and then I think we had our actual date on around like New Year's because we were snowed in over Christmas weekend. So we wanted to have it around Christmas, but we couldn't because we were snowed in and it sucked.
How romantic.
It was cute. But I do remember on Christmas Eve, and this was right when I was about 16, butting into dating and all that stuff. And
butting into a beautiful young woman she is today.
So I remember on Christmas Eve, I got a call from him on the phone, and he just called to wish me a Merry Christmas, and I was giddy as all get out. Like, after we hung up the phone, I was like, oh my God, I got my first call from a boy I like, and he wished me Merry Christmas, and it was just really cheesy.
That is so cute. I think you had a better first date.
Our first date ended up being walking around downtown here in Portland. I live in Portland. So we walked around and saw the city and just talked and held hands and were super derpy.
That's adorable.
Yeah, that was that first date. It was cute.
At least snow didn't cock block you twice.
Thank God, man. I was pissed about that. What about you?
What about Craig? What was your first? Oh, wait. How would it have been different if you were in Japan on Christmas Eve? Do you think it would have been... It sounds actually very similar, though, because you had the snow. It happened around that time of year, and you guys walked around the city, and I'm assuming there were Christmas lights.
I think there were still some Christmas lights up. So, yeah, it was pretty standard. We didn't do gift exchange, but it was because, like, we weren't official yet. It was just like a...
Did he at least get you a Christmas cake?
No Christmas cake, sadly.
God damn it.
I can't even remember what we ate that day. I know we had some food, but whatever. That wasn't the highlight. Would have been a lot better with fried chicken and Christmas cake.
What about you, Craig? What was your first date like? Your very first date.
You're asking something that happened eons ago.
Dude, I was 16.
Yeah.
That was almost 10 years ago.
Dude.
A decade.
Yeah, we old too, man.
Man. The recesses of my mind are degrading fast. Tell you what.
Well, this will be interesting from a boy's perspective, too.
What you gotta do is, for a guy, you have to essentially, you gotta be glad that she gave you the opportunity and her time to actually date your sorry ass. So,
hey now, it works the other way around, too.
So what you gotta do is, you gotta set the bar. If I recall correctly, I think the first date dealt with me meeting her for the first time way back when. I was so innocent back then. And I set the bar by getting this chick chocolate, flowers, her favorite flowers, and a teddy bear. Met her for the first time.
On a first date?
Yeah.
That's straight up out of an anime.
This is straight up Craig in general. So listen, if any of our
represent.
listeners are single ladies,
I gotta represent.
this guy knows how to treat a lady.
I'll do.
Okay, did you take her out to dinner, or what else did you do?
By the time if I recall correctly, I think we just went back to her place and like hung out and whatnot. Mind you, nothing happened.
This isn't that kind of episode, Craig.
Exactly. Nothing. We've got to keep this PG. We played video games and watched TV. The actual date happened the day after, because it was, by the time I arrived, it was like dark out. So we went and I don't think it was really anything too extravagant in terms of food. I think it was like fast food, but like she showed me around her place. Like her hometown, and we went to a petting zoo, and I remember vividly, and this is like the whole, like, I was in college during the time, so I only came up for like a weekend, but I remember vividly, like, a bird perched itself on her arm, and it like raised its feathers and squawked, and she freaked out, and I was just like, oh dear, she's gonna get destroyed by this bird, and I cannot do anything to save her. I am a man, but I know my battles, and that's not a battle I can win. That's not a battle I can win against nature.
That sounds like you went from like a typical like rom-com anime, and then it just went like shonen.
Yeah.
What is this madness?
So basically, just saying, you gotta treat her good because she's given you her time and set the bar. Now, how this would differ if I was in Japan on
I don't
a
know,
holiday.
man. I feel like you are like the perfect image of what a guy should do on Christmas Eve in Japan.
If it was Christmas Eve in Japan, first off, we would go see the sights around all the touristy locations, not knowing how to speak a lick of Japanese.
You're not going to go back yourself a Japanese girl?
That's the dream. But at the same time, if that were the case, she would show me all the cool touristy locations, and we'd go buy, like, anime merchandise and figures. But also...
That is a very odd thing to probably have your girlfriend help you do, I feel like, unless they're also an anime fan.
Again, the dream. Guys, the dream. But also, for her...
Is she going to help you pick out a Takimakura as well? Oh, God.
We don't talk about that. But also... for her assistance, a nice sponge cake
I was about to ask,
With
are you going to get the girl a cake?
Yes, that goes without saying.
Oh, really? Well, the real question is, did you get your first girl that you took on a date a cake?
No.
God damn it, Greg.
No.
You had one job.
I got her a teddy bear, chocolates, and her favorite flowers.
But no cake. Not good enough.
Not up to par. Not
God
up to
damn it.
par.
You won't let me have this.
Even if this didn't happen on a date, have any of us ever kissed under mistletoe?
No! And I want to so bad.
Yes.
I have. Yeah.
I
Once.
Man, it was just like... It was nothing like so like romanticized in like movies. It's just kind of like, yeah, kiss. Bloop, bloop,
But did
there.
it give you the little doki dokis?
I got Doki Dokis. It was cute.
Well, here's the question. I mean, I need the deets on both of you guys. It's like, did the person put the missile? Did you guys just notice it was there? Did you initiate the kiss? Did they? Like, Cami, you first. Tell me the dirty
let me think.
deets.
It was on my parents' door, and I don't think he knew about it. But he was kind of tall, so it was like, oh, this thing is right in my face. Is that okay? Then we just like kissed,
Right.
and again, it was full of that innocence, like first love, little high school Doki Doki crush bullshit.
Did he kiss you or did you kiss him?
I think he kissed me. I kissed him first in our relationship, but meh, other story.
Damn. Cami takes the reins.
Oh yes, always. What about you, Craig?
I think it was just a case of like walk under it. I don't even remember like the context of where, but I do recall doing it uninitiated.
Aww.
That's
I have never kissed under mistletoe.
Yeah.
I did get a New Year's kiss, though. Have you guys
Those
done-
are so nice. Yes.
Craig, have you ever gotten a New Year's kiss? As the ball drops in the background.
Those are so.
I don't believe so. Not in that case. No.
No problem. I mean, you guys had mistletoe kisses and I didn't, and we've had
New Year's
New Year's kisses and you haven't. But then again, that just means that Cami here is
Covering all
spoiled
the
rotten.
she's not. She's just a Casanova. She looks so sweet and innocent, but she will just come up to you and just wrap you into so much love that you don't even realize you're wrapped in.
Gow gow. I'm a tiger.
She's feisty.
Yes.
But yeah, definitely. I think it's great. And I think that that's just kind of cool that I never even really thought about it. But we do have those little romantic traditions even here for Christmas in the States. We do have the mistletoe, and we do have, even though it's not on Christmas, we do have the whole kiss into the new year. Even on television, whenever they show the ball dropping, they'll always pan out into the crowd and see how many people are actually kissing.
Yep.
So there is that whole bringing somebody into the new year with you. You see, my sad thing though is that my New Year's kiss was a drunken event, and it was one of those like it started out romantic, and then it was just making out on the kitchen floor. So.
Woof,
Woo.
man.
Yeah, there was a lot of alcohol consumed that evening. So I would like to have one day a romantic kind of encounter. Maybe not on top of, but underneath some mistletoe. That'd be great.
I wonder if they do mistletoe in Japan. I'm trying to think back on like if I've seen any anime where they've done mistletoe. Like
I haven't.
yeah, because there's been Christmas kisses, but it's not necessarily initiated by mistletoe.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that also goes along with the whole going out on dates thing is more of the
Yeah,
Japan
that's
thing.
true.
I mean, I'm not an expert on this subject. So by all means, anybody listening to this, if you think I'm saying something incorrectly, please let me know. We want to learn more. This is part of the fun.
Yes.
Definitely. Oh gosh.
Good
I just wish I could be there. I want to see all the pretty things. I want to see all of the... I mean, because you've got really pretty things here as well, but I don't know if we necessarily... Do we have Christmas cake in the States? I know we have fruit
Yeah.
cake.
That's another
our
story.
cake. That's our cake.
Yeah.
Have
I don't
you
think
ever
it's a
eaten
big
fruit
thing.
cake?
No.
No.
Me either. I hear it's disgusting.
I know a couple rare people that like it, and I'm just like, did you try it with your eyes closed?
But you've never had it, so you can't really say.
Exactly. It doesn't look appealing to me, that's all I'll
I've
say.
seen it in cartoons. It's just a giant brick.
Mm-hmm.
It's a doorstop or some shit like that.
Well, I know that that's always the comedy in, like, Christmas movies.
Mm-hmm.
Right up there with, you'll shoot your eye out, you'll shoot your eye out.
We watch that movie every year on
I
Christmas
hate
Eve.
that movie.
I think it's been overplayed.
Oh, yes, it is.
Hello, crap. It's the same thing as, like, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It's been overplayed. It's played every year during Christmas, but you're gonna watch it anyway.
Have any of you guys seen the Jim Carrey live action?
Yes.
Do you on a scale of 1 to 10? What's your opinion?
mean, it was a movie. I haven't watched it in years, but this is an anime podcast.
Listen, Jim Carrey like transcends anime. He is anime incarnate.
He's not anime.
That actually, I wonder if there are any Christmas specials that would translate well into anime specials. The first one I thought of was actually Gift of the Magi. Do you guys know that story?
I don't.
It's about
Story time.
It's about a couple, and I could be totally wrong about this. I think it's in the Great Depression, but if not, it's just a couple that is not doing financially well, and they each want like a special precious item to have for Christmas that they want to get the other person. But the only way that they can do that is if they sell like one of their things that's like very precious to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they end up like in some sort of form, I don't know, like trading or something. They end up getting back for the person unconsciously the thing that they gave up. And then they're like, the real meaning of Christmas is, you know,
making the other person happy.
Being with the person that you love. And given the romanticism of just the way that Christmas is in Japan, I think that would actually translate and be a really cute little special.
I would watch that.
That'd be cute.
God, what other?
The Grinch, probably not.
Well, I mean, the Grinch could, but I feel like it's less about... I mean, I know there are gifts that are given.
So listen...
but I think it's less about that in Japan.
You could parody Christmas with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Okay, Craig.
Dio stole Christmas.
Okay, so Craig, serious. But no, that would be hilarious. That would be really funny. But, like, what American... Christmas is the question. Like, what American Christmas thing would translate well into being animated?
I don't know.
Like an anime
with
special.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
Rudolph would be cute.
The
Frosty
Nutcracker would be cute.
Frosty the Snowman. Like, those admittedly creepy now, claymation movies, you know?
Did you know, actually, that the animated, the first one at least, the original Frosty the Snowman special was actually animated by a Japanese animation studio?
I
had no idea.
Yeah. I will research that in the background.
That is actually really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, I never really thought about these. I would love to see, like, a Pokemon Christmas special if it doesn't actually already exist.
It probably does, knowing how long that show's been going on. 20 years, going strong.
And yet he still looks like a 5-year-old.
Ash never ages.
And he never gets the girl.
Well, apparently in X and Y, the female protect pressed her feelings to him, but he was like, sorry, girl, gotta keep going on. I'm going to Hawaii. Sayonara, sucker.
Spoiler drop.
That ain't a spoiler. That's like all over the internet.
Okay, so the production studio that animated or helped produce Frosty the Snowman was Mushi Production, which was headed by Osamu Tezuka, who is basically our father of of anime and manga and stuff. And then Mushi was pretty successful for many years, but that's cool to know that they had a hand in a special that many of us over here watch every year. So yeah,
that is really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that being said, we decided today to, I'm going to make a very quick transition.
We're going to take a U-turn on this? We're just going to like hard right?
Well, not necessarily, because the reason why, and we're going to do a little tiny anime review today.
Just for you.
Of the Gata H Kei, which is an anime that actually ran from 2010 to 2010. It was from April to June of 2010. So it's,
it's
years old now?
It's old.
We're old.
I remember watching this while it was airing, and I can't believe it's been that long. But then again, there's shows like Clannad where I'm like, oh, that came out in 2009. But anyway, so this aired quite a while ago, and it's basically about a girl who wants to have sex with 100 guys by the time that she graduates. Now, I know you're probably wondering, why the fuck would we talk about this on a Christmas episode? Well, the whole bit about her wanting to lose her virginity is a very big deal. And I always found this very interesting because in Japan, being super sexual is not necessarily something that's very accepted.
Mm-hmm.
So that being that this is an anime medium and it's more of a comedy, that kind of shows in a way Japan's own opinion on that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But there is one episode where there is a Christmas date.
Yes.
And surprisingly, a show that's all about sex and comedy and very awkward situations chooses to go pretty actually normal at the beginning when it comes to this. Yamada, being our main character girl who spends most of the show being kind of back and forth between very aggressive and very shy.
Yeah.
I would arguably say this date is the one that she starts out most excited about. She doesn't even know what to wear. She even puts on like a little cheetah outfit and a little Santa outfit, and she's just being crazy. But then when she actually gets there, it's one of those moments where we actually see her start to fidget and get very nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And up until he gets there, there is that expectation of, what is this going to be like? Because it is a... it is a date on Christmas Eve.
Mm.
So we've got that traditional feeling of, oh my God, it's a date, but it's a special date. Where is he going to take me? And of course he shows up and gets her a gift, and she gets really excited about it, and then they go on. So I felt that this would be a really cool anime to select to talk about, not just because of that, but because of the dating kind of scenario that we're kind of wondering about the entire show, and also just to talk about it in general, because it's a pretty interesting comedy anime.
Yeah, I think it's good, and it deserves a lot more credit than what it sets itself up to be. Just reading the synopsis of it and maybe seeing like the first 10 minutes, you're like, I am really not sure if I'm going to even respect this show, if it's going to have strong characters, like a good approach to its subject matter, but it really does. A lot of Yamada's just experiences of kind of delving into what is essentially first sort of relationship experiences with someone-ish, just going on dates and things, is pretty relatable.
Yeah, definitely.
In a lot of cases, which I was impressed with. I did not expect that.
I mean, even in the first episode, she has that moment, and I know this is a little bit explicit,
I love
but
that.
There's a moment where she takes a mirror and puts it between her legs, and she's like, is this how it's supposed to look? And for any, maybe not all girls, but I had that moment of like going, oh God, what is sex going to be like? And she's like jumping 5 steps ahead with worrying about sex when she hasn't even had her own first date yet.
You always got to think 10 steps ahead. And always. I have that problem every day.
But that's the thing that I think is so interesting, because she has this end goal, which almost always is... The other thing that I find funny is a lot of the times you think that it's going to be the guys in these shows, especially animes, that are like wanting to bed the girls. When in reality, this show is about a very thirsty young woman.
Yeah.
She is thirsty, like she's been in the Sahara Desert.
For ages.
It's just nice, though, because it contrasts her being thirsty, but then also these moments where she's like, I have no idea what I am doing. Commence panicking mode. And it's like, that's so... I appreciate that a lot.
She's so soon. She's tsundere.
And what I also found really cute, and this might be something that they did on purpose, because I know in general there seems to be this issue with men being too meek in Japanese society, but the guy that she immediately latches onto is one of those, is what they would call, I believe, a herbivore man. In Japan, I don't know what the exact Japanese translation is, but I know that that's what it is translated into English, where he is, of course, a virgin. She pegs it right away. And the poor cat, he's just... first meets this pretty girl, and she's like, are you a virgin? And he just runs away sobbing, so of course she just shoved it in his face. But that is immediately the guy that she spends the entire series trying to bed. And I don't know if they did that because, herbivore men really want to have this lovely young lady chasing them, or because it's fucking hilarious. It might be both. But I just found it very intriguing that this girl who, for all intents and purposes, is kind of a spoiled brat.
Oh, yeah.
And has very delusional... She even has, like, a little sex goddess friend who's, like, trying to help her get laid.
Yeah. The one on the little cloud.
She has a little bit of a deep character underneath her that's very scared and, like, worried and doesn't even know how to kiss a guy. Their first kiss is a complete accident. And even up until that Christmas date, she's very nervous. And when she does have her aggressive moments, they almost always go wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Which is also something that is very interesting. In addition to Yamada, I feel like we can talk about how the rest of the cast is also pretty hilarious.
Yeah. I love her little sister, actually, a lot, who you don't see very often, but she is clearly younger than her sister, but she's like super mature in her persona, and it's always hinted at that her sister's had more experience like dating and with men than she has, which I think is hilarious.
If I recall, from what I remember, it's like she always struck me as like a sharpshooter, just straight. She's just like, oh, there she is again.
There she goes again. Yep.
Same
World.
with her best friend.
Yeah.
Takeshita, I believe her name was.
Mm-hmm.
Her best friend, oh my god, is fantastic.
Mhm.
Like, she's like the ultimate bro. Because I remember there are multiple times where Yamada will call her, and of course her best friend, who I need to look up her name. I'm spacing. Takeshita.
Yeah.
Okay. She will literally just roll her eyes and be like, "Oh, here we go, typical Yamada." But she's there for her when it matters, and even her boyfriend is there.
I love her.
Like, all of these characters, even the ones you don't see often, are very interesting. And while this is not, it's a comedy show. Nobody's severely fleshed out. Nobody has a tragic backstory. You really grow to like these characters because they are so real in such a very strange situation. I've had friends who I'm just like, oh, typical insert name here. You on your escapades again.
They're enjoyable. Like, there were certain characters for me that really did feel like archetypes, but it still wasn't that bad. The glasses girl for me was
The childhood best friend.
Yeah, she was an archetype to me, but you know, that's just par for the course with comedies like that. So
I felt bad for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little bit.
And also, like, it was kind of interesting how they brushed on things that girls actually do worry about. Like, her bust size. She was not small, but she's like, I have B-cup boobies. How do I go on?
I liked that, and I liked that everyone basically around her, like her best friend and the, like, childhood friend of the guy, she was always just like, their breast size, it's gonna take him away from me, you know?
Fun fact I didn't realize until watching it a second time, but in the opening, like, they have the breast size cups in the opening when they do, like, the shot of the character in the opening segment.
Well, and I think the reason that they do that, and I'm not sure exactly, because the translation, if you actually buy this from Funimation, which, by the way, it's licensed by Funimation, and you can buy this on DVD and Blu-ray. Not an ad.
Yes.
As Craig would say. The translation into English was Yamada's first time, which is a totally mistranslation because it's not her first time with anything. It's just her trying to get her first time, which I guess counts. But I think that Gata is like a translation of B-cup.
Yes.
And then
B-cup slut, right?
I don't know if HK is slut, but
it's something like that, though.
Yeah.
So I think there was an emphasis on her cup size, but I could be completely wrong. Let's do a little bit more reference. But I mean, girls do worry about that. There is a lot of stuff in there that she does worry about, but then there's some other stuff that's just really stupid and out of the way. It's definitely a humor show, but humor can come differently for everyone. It's completely subjective. I found the show funny. Even in English, I watched this. That was my next question. I was going to ask, did you guys watch this dubbed or subbed? I watched it subbed originally because I watched it while it was airing. But I also watched it dubbed later on, which was very interesting for me because it was Brittany Karbowski doing the main girl. So it's like the last thing I had listened to her in was in like IU from Canon 2006.
Oh, Lord.
So from watching her going from, oh no, to I want to fuck everything was very interesting for me as a person. But, especially because the voice does not vary very much. But she does a really good job. The dub was very decent. Yeah. But it's Funimation. What do you expect? They do relatively good dubs most of the time.
I watched it sub too because, like Cassie, I watched it when it was currently airing. I've seen plenty of clips of the dub, and I think that it does well. I think that you said it's Brittany Karbowski?
That's the main girl.
I think that she definitely has the attitude that the original Japanese voice actress kept, and I appreciated that a lot. And then Kosuda sounded fine because he's just kind of meek. Yeah. It definitely wasn't a dub that I was like, I don't want to watch. I just never went back and actively checked it out. But I mean, it's a funny dub, so it's going to be really solid and good on them. So enjoy it either way you like.
And like I said, like you've got to notice that unlike our previous episodes where we've reviewed anime, this one I did not go very deep into the synopsis because you don't need to.
No, it's comedy.
It's a comedy show. Everything I said that basically she's a girl who wants to lay 100 guys and she's just trying to get her first lay down. That's the whole show.
I was about to say, do we delve deeper into the psychology of Yamada? As she wants to, why does she want to have sex with 100 men? Because
she wants to be, she's already, and it's not like she's not already recognized as fucking gorgeous, because everybody in the school already thinks she's gorgeous and pretty, and I think that's and we could go into a deep analysis that's not necessarily of what that might do to her psyche, being this, like,
you can have a research paper.
Like this person being on a pedestal, maybe that's one of the reasons why she wants to, because she feels that at that point in her life, she should already be having sex. But you also, even in the first episode, when she's thinking about it, when she's thinking about having a first time with somebody who is experienced, that they would make fun of her, that could in and of itself be something that we could be like, oh, is that something that, you know, the Japanese people or people in Japan think a lot? Because I know that that's something that girls here think about a lot.
I was about to say, like, what is it, society, like...
Society in general. It might not just be Japan, but there's a lot of emphasis on women and sexuality and how that could be a research paper in and of itself of how that differs between here and Japan.
I do think it was just relatable, too, though, with a lot of her fears. Like, if you don't want me to talk about this, just stop me. But the first episode, when they share a kiss and things are getting heated, she notices something poking her leg and she freaks out. And she's like really, really scared of it and runs away because she doesn't know what it is. And I was like, my entire life in a nutshell.
Yep. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that that's a spoiler because it's in episode one, but that is something that we should also probably point out to people, that there is some explicit content. It's not super bad. You wouldn't see anything worse in a PG-13 movie.
You do see boobs.
There are boobs, but there is a censored version, particularly if you watch the version that aired on TV.
Yeah.
In the Blu-rays, you do see some pretty little nipples that are very well animated, which we'll touch on later because this was animated pretty decently.
Yeah, it's just standard, like, raunchy rom-com stuff.
But you will see him pop a boner, and
a lot.
She freaks out. And in the first episode, she freaks out and runs away.
It's my favorite.
They weren't kissing, but the thing is that even up until that point, he had grabbed her, and it was an almost in there.
Yeah.
He was leaning in to try and make a move, and then he popped a boner because he's a teenage boy, and she's like, what the shit? And runs away.
And he's just like, what did I do wrong?
Men, we don't know what we did. I should put that drop in here.
That's...
But yeah.
Story of every guy's life.
Story of every girl's life. I think that that's the great thing about this, is that it shows just how awkward dating can be, especially when you're young and just figuring out about sexuality and sex in general, and figuring out what you're attracted to and what your boundaries are. Because sometimes they get nervous and things just don't lead where they want them to. Most of the time it's hijinks that interrupts them, and that's the other thing that I kind of got annoyed with this show, but it's part of the comedy. It's a constant cock block anime is what it is.
It is.
Like,
with the other girls and whatnot, right? And various...
Lots of stuff.
Wacky shenanigans.
I mean, if their goal is to get us invested, if will these two ever fuck, we get invested. I'm like, I want to know, are these two gonna fuck or not?
Exactly. Are they? Because, and that's the other thing that I find very interesting about this show, is it's not, oh, we fell in love. It's, oh, I'm attracted to this person, or at least in Coast. Because I remember in episode 1, again, anything that's in episode 1 typically I won't see as a spoiler, but we will have a spoiler section, guys, after we finish talking our general talk. But in the first episode, they're like, what do you think of her? And he thinks about it, and he's like, other than the fact that she showed me her tits, she's been kind of just a giant jerk. So he's attracted to her sexually, but he doesn't know how he feels about her. And later on, he asks himself that. He's like, what do I think about her? And then 5 seconds later, she's kind of putting him in an awkward situation again. He's like, okay, fuck, I'm in. Like, that's very real.
It is.
Sometimes, even with girls, you're like, I don't know how I feel about this person, but it feels good to be around him, so fuck yes.
Yeah, it's really just about, like, bumbling with hormones and attraction and teenage emotions, and it depicts it pretty realistically, even if it's a rom-com.
Yeah.
And it's just silly.
It happens even past high school and in college and shit, too.
But at its core, it is a comedy, and over-the-top comedy in a lot of situations. But it does have enough real emotions behind it that people can... It's the kind of comedy where you're like, aha, and it's kind of like stand-up comedy, where you're relating to what they're saying, and that's why it's funny, and then they say or do something outrageous, and it's still funny. Even though that's how I would compare it. It's that kind of comedy. So if that kind of comedy appeals to you, watch it, because you're going to be rolling. And the comedy doesn't get old either. Even though sometimes they do the same thing over and over, it's just different enough, like the cock block situations.
Yes.
It's just different enough that you're like, okay. What are your guys' opinions in that regard?
I definitely think the same thing.
Yep.
I think that it's funny. There's a reason I think that a lot of people that I've talked to who aren't necessarily always into, like, ecchi rom-coms do really like Gata H Kei, and there's credence for that, and the fact that it displays itself as kind of more relatable comedy than like over the top. Even the tropes, like when there are kind of comedic tropes that are delivered, the motivation behind them is very different. Like, you know, when boobies come out, it's not necessarily always the drop and fall. It's a different setup where this character thought about it a certain way, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So it's pretty refreshing.
And when they want to titillate you, they titillate you. Because there are some explicit moments where, you know, somebody's getting fondled or something like that. It starts to get pretty ecchi, and then it gets ruined, but they're good at setting the mood.
As it always does.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely would agree that if that's not your type of comedy, you're going to get annoyed really quickly.
Yeah. I know some other people have been dissuaded by the show because apparently Yamada's a very frustrating character.
And she can be. Like, if I actually had a friend who was just like her in real life, I don't know how I would tolerate her, to be honest. That's why her best friend character, Takeshita, I believe her name was, is just such a valuable character.
She's a saint.
She's the bro and the person that's just like, sorry, bro. You're an idiot.
But we can't spend all of our time talking about the show and the characters, even though that is really what it's about. Yeah. But I think that the animation quality was decent. It was nothing, you know, first 3 episodes of Yuri on Ice or or Zankyo no Terror or anything Kyoani has made level of quality. But it's decent. It's pretty good. I especially like what they do in moments of comedy, like how they'll change the animation style just barely.
Yeah.
It's crisp. I love the colors in it. That's something that I remember. And then they do a really good job at displaying Yamada as someone who is very attractive and very gorgeous. You know, when they need to give her, like, the beautiful scenes, that's where you see the Sakuga budget go and stuff.
I was about to say, the opening also emphasizes this.
Oh my god, yes.
Because just various shots of her, like, pay me one of your French girls, Leo, and she's leaning over, getting a drink of water. You know, those scenes that make them just like, ooh, oh.
It's almost a pinup girl opening.
Yes.
Like as if they're making a calendar of her. And by opening, we mean the opening of the show.
The opening theme.
Yeah, and it's very pretty. And you see her as this bubbly character, and it shows everybody else as well. But it gives you that poppy, happy feeling that you're going to get throughout the show.
Yeah, so I think the animation was pretty solid.
It was. It wasn't amazing, but the fact that it wasn't like drop dead amazing, I feel made it consistent as well. There was nowhere that I noticed, like for example in Akatsuki no Yona, where I noticed actively that budget drop towards the end. That wasn't the case with Gata H Kei for me. It stayed, while not outstanding, it stayed good enough for me to be happy and not say, oh wow, where did their budget go?
And for the type of show it is, like it could have passed itself off with a far worse just visual style or budget, but they put in a good amount of effort for like a rom-com, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. And while the music also was relatively forgettable, it was still okay.
Yeah, it's passable.
It served its purpose. That's what I was going to say. Out of all the weaklings, it's just the music. That's just like, it's at the mid, but really it's the characters that you're there for. The animation was like a solid 8 out of 10 in my opinion, but you know.
Voice acting was real good.
Yep. Oh, yep, and that was also, I must say, in the English dub and in the Japanese dub. In my opinion, you can watch it in either, and you'll probably be happy. I mean, there are always dubs out there where almost everybody unanimously thinks it's horrid. This isn't one of those. I think it's one of those where some people say take it or leave it. It's decent enough. And then, of course, the Japanese is awesome. Whoever played Yamada in the Japanese did an amazing job. I can't remember what her name is off the top of my head, but she did a great job.
I also loved how exasperated Kosuda would sound at times, and I was just like, you poor guy.
I feel like we haven't talked about him enough in this review either. Kosuda just gets shafted. Even right now, we're shafting him.
He's very vanilla, but I appreciate that he's vanilla. Like,
he is the perfect gentleman in the sense that he's just like, I don't know what to do, but she's acting all weird, but I like her because she's hot, but at the same time it's like, what? She's leading me on. I don't get this.
That's one of the things I actually really liked about Kosuda is that his reactions to her were pretty realistic, well, I think. Especially for a teen. I mean, I've never been a teenage boy, so maybe you'll have to help me with this, Craig.
I was never a teenage boy either.
You just came out of your mother's vagina, a 30-year-old man.
Yeah.
Anyway, so no, I mean, I feel, I mean, even as a girl, but as a guy especially, you know, a girl thrusts her tits in your face and you're a nice guy, so you're not sure if you want to go along with it, but she pushes you far enough, maybe.
He has a cute hobby too. He's a photographer. That's super cute.
I love that. And there is an episode specifically, maybe we should do that in our spoilers section, but there is a part of the show that I won't go too deep into, but where he actually shows her his hobby.
Yeah.
And you really get to know him a little bit better. It becomes less about the sex and the comedy and more about... And that's
development.
Yeah, and more for Yamada too. She starts seeing Coast because at first it's just, oh, he's a cherry boy. I want to steal his first time because then he can't judge me and I can just get this out of the way. Well, that's what she refers to him as, a cherry boy.
I know.
And she's just like, I can use him, get rid of him, and move on to the next guy in my hundreds. But she starts to realize that that's not what it's all about, and I love that. And he starts to realize that too. That, you know, getting to know this girl might be worth it, even though she's fucking confusing as shit.
Yeah.
And I did like that. I liked that a lot. However, this show is a huge cock block, and that really, I don't know, that humor didn't appeal to me as much, and that did knock it down a bit for me. And also, the fact that this is a comedy anime, and those aren't necessarily my favorites, made it a little bit average for me, but I think overall it was a pretty good show.
Yeah, like I said, I don't watch that genre very much, but it's a kind of breath of fresh air, I think, in that, in the genre of just kind of ecchi rom-coms. So, you know, give it a shot. You'll probably know within the first episode or so if you can get through more or if you really can't stand it. So
it's more of the same throughout the whole show. If you like that kind of thing, you're going to continue to like it. If you don't like it, it's not going to get any better.
Yeah.
So that being said, why don't we talk about what we're going to give this show ratings-wise out of 5? Ratings-wise out of 5. I personally probably would be stuck around about a 3 to a 3.5. Like I said, the animation was average at best. Was not, like, breathtaking, but it was still good enough. Music, compilation, voice acting was really the thing that stood out the most, and the characters are what carried this show, and there isn't a lot to the characters to begin with. It's fun. It's zany. For everything good I said about it, there's some frustrating points. The comedy isn't for everyone. So I'd say probably about a 3.
Yeah, I was swinging between the same, a 3 and a 3.5. But, you know, it's just it's a nice little light, enjoyable watch. But that said, you can still have a nice, enjoyable watch that could have something maybe a little more like meat to it, which I don't necessarily think this show did. So I don't really mind giving it a 3 out of 5. And, you know, it's fine. Like, give it a watch. It's enjoyable. I don't think you'll, you know, waste your time. And
turn
like
your
I
brain
said,
off.
Yeah, it's a turn your brain off thing, and it gets a 3 out of 5 from me.
How about you, Gregory?
I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5. As you both said, it's a pretty good turn your brain off sort of show. A good solid like 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Something like that, yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so averaging out, that'd be a little over a 3. So we'll give it close to that. We'll give it to about a 3 to a 3.5 overall. So that being said, watch it, give it a chance. You don't like it, nobody's gonna hate you for it.
Yeah.
So that being said, we would like to have a little spoiler section, especially because Cassie wants to vent about her frustrations with this show. But those frustrations, wink wink sexual frustrations, those frustrations will be spoilerific. So at this point, we do want to go ahead and drop our social links.
Social link, go!
So, if you do want to find us on Twitter, we are at twitter.com/theanniechatbox. We will be staying there on Twitter, and you can follow us there for, you know, when the episodes are released, if you do so want to be that timely. If you are late for a very important date, we would understand, but otherwise that'd be the best way to find us and when things are happening. Also, if you'd like, you can shoot us an email at anniechatmail@gmail.com. We have yet to get any mail from you guys to talk, and we want it. We want you to send us love or hate. We'll read the hate. Just give it to us, baby.
Pretty please.
Don't be a clock.
Give it to me, baby. Another pretty girl saying pretty fly for a my gosh.
That being said, that again was anniechatmail@gmail.com. Once again, you can also follow us at youtube.com/a bunch of letters and numbers that I'm going to go ahead and put in the description. For whatever reason, youtube.com/the Annie chat box will get you nowhere. We're trying to figure out why that is a problem. But for now, you're already listening to us on YouTube, so hopefully you can just click on our names there above. And that being said,
Spoiler time!
thank you for joining us, those that are leaving. But for now, time for the spoilers.
Dun dun dun.
Alright, do I need to leave them?
No.
Damn it!
All right, go ahead and vent your
They
frustrations.
didn't have sex.
Nope.
The whole show is about...
Did you expect them to?
I wanted it.
I mean, if we're not going to get a second season, which we're not,
Mm-hmm.
this
Did
isn't
they-
the kind of show that's going to get a second season.
Did it ever finish the manga?
The manga did, and actually, yes, they do
They
have sex in
doinked?
the manga. Yeah.
They don't? Okay.
Mhm.
And I mean, and then it's just like, if you're not going to have us... I understand that they may have been following the manga. I didn't read the manga. I know it's a
Me either.
4-paneler, isn't it? It's just... It's frustrating when there's all this buildup and there's
Mhm.
no payoff. And even with their relationship, there's no real definitive resolution. It's just more this, will they? Won't they?
Yeah.
And towards the end, you get this feeling that they both have feelings for each other, but neither of them actively wants to say it. And
Just like high school.
Well, and he tried in one episode, and it's not even like a tantalizing moment cock block. It's literally cock block where he's about to say "I like you," and then he fucking disappears on a train, and I'm like, this is not the time to cock block me, anime. Seriously.
Just like...
it's just, that's not funny to
Mhm.
me. And I guess this
Mhm.
comes down to what we
It's
discussed about before, about what's funny and what isn't funny. And that might be a cultural thing. It might be something that I just don't understand. But I don't think anybody in the world thinks it's hilarious when you want something and then they just rip it away from you.
Well, yeah, it's basically just sacrificing the buildup of the story to repeat the same humor over and over again, and that's where I'm like, I don't appreciate this. Yeah.
It's just frustrating. And I mean, and you say it's like Nisekoi, but at least in Nisekoi, which we're not going to discuss too much because...
I'm just saying, it's just like, hey...
At least in Nisekoi, you get at least a little bit of a payoff, but we're not going to talk too much about that because there might be people who stayed here for spoilers for this show who haven't seen Nisekoi. But at least, even in those things, you get a payoff. In a lot of harem shows that have this exact same thing, this exact same level of frustration, there's almost always, a payoff at the end. He picks a girl, he gets with that girl, and it's heavily implied that they go off and run away into the sunset and fuck till kingdom come.
Damn.
Or at least they leave it for the fanfic, but there's normally at least a kiss or something, but even the kisses that you get in Gata H Kei almost seem pointless.
Yeah, I don't know, I even wish there just could have been like an aftermath voiceover, like at the end of the episode when they're looking at each other and smiling, and then it's like, and then the goddess pops up and is like, eventually they fucked, guys! that would have been better payoff.
I mean,
just
even
saying.
if they didn't have sex, which they got so close so many times, which
Yeah.
is weird to me, they got so close to banging, and I understand that... And I did like that they approached the whole thing where you don't necessarily have to be dating to be having sex. Because that is something that's very active in this day and age, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, if you are safe about it, let me put that out there.
Mhm.
But they even advertise that in the show as, be protected.
Mm-hmm.
They even use condoms as the censor in
It's
the
great.
censored version. But if you're going to give us something, at least have them get together.
Yeah.
But it's more almost like, oh, okay, I guess we're gonna spend more time together in the new year. End of show. I don't know. It's just frustrating to me.
Yeah, I honestly was pretty disappointed with episode, I think it was 12 as a whole, whatever, because the one previously where they basically get to the closest point that they have of having sex is like, would have been a decent endpoint for me. And if not, I'm hoping the next episode's going to resolve like those shenanigans. And it didn't. And it just dive bombed into more misunderstandings and shenanigans. And I was like, this is not what I'm here for.
You can only
You
have
know.
so many more, like, misunderstand. And it's very hard to misunderstand fucking.
Yeah. And it didn't feel like a last episode at all. It was very frustrating in that regard.
And that's
Sweet.
something in general with slice of life shows and slice of life comedies that have a plot.
At least it wasn't
Problem.
super melodramatic, if anything.
Yeah.
It wasn't that kind of show.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had melodrama in the last episode, then that would have completely ruined everything they had set up. It's not that kind of show.
That's what I'm saying. At least they didn't have it, because it would have been worse off for where there was no drama. There was just wacky hijinks and just like lol, awkward situations, cockblock.
What
There's
even
no payoff though.
I feel like some slice of life too, though, don't set themselves up with so much of a build up to an end goal as this one did, and that's where it's really frustrating. Where it's like, there's absolutely no end.
She had an end goal from episode 1.
Yeah, and it's not.
It was an unachievable end goal, but at least it turned to a smaller goal that she could have had.
Yeah. Even, would it have been more satisfying even if she, like, actually fucking kind of understood that she liked him? Because she really didn't.
Yeah, I don't think she completely understood. No. And that's the thing. Like, I feel he understood.
Oh, he did. He was going to confess to her in the fucking train scene.
Yeah, he... And he struggled with that through a lot of the show. And I think that was another great thing about the show is he, as a person and as a man, struggled with how much of me is sexually attracted to her and how much of me is attracted to her because she's crazy and fun and silly. And those are the parts of Yamada that we start... Yamada. Those are the parts of Yamada that we see that he starts to like. And I almost started to like her as a character because she seems kind of annoying until you realize that that's part of her charm is that she's so fucking crazy. And he realizes that about her, but she does at times, like that episode where she goes to the photography, or the time when he like goes on a trip with his family and she gets like super jealous and like stalks him.
Oh yeah, and then that like scene where they hug under the fireworks.
Yeah, and then and that was a completely different episode, but that also, there was that misunderstanding in the pool episode that had the fireworks, but the episode where she chases after him and goes with the family, he shows her the stars and why those are so important to him. And she actually has this doki moment of, wow, this is kind of cool. And she has those moments, but learns nothing.
Yeah, she never... I don't know. Yeah, the fact that the way that they handled her feelings for him just ended on kind of an immature level was really kind of disappointing.
I wish there was some resolution there. Like you said, even if there was this thought in her mind of, I really like him.
Yeah.
But I don't think she ever feels that way.
No.
And it's just frustrating.
Like she could have even said, like, I still have my goal, but I want to make sure that my first time is reserved for him. Like, that would have been fine. That would have made me perfectly happy. Like,
but there's just this whole will she, won't she that is never resolved. And honestly, I feel Kosuda on a certain level deserves better, but whatever.
I know a lot of people do think that. But that's pretty much, like, the bulk of spoilers for the show that you can give.
It's manga, babe. Go buy the manga. Actually, I don't even know if it's available here, but it's still manga.
But yeah. All right, does that close out our spoiler section?
I believe it does.
Okay.
Okay.
Once again, thank you guys so much for joining us. If you'd like, go ahead and check out our social media links that I'll go ahead and throw into the down yonder section of our video. And you guys can check it out, and it will be great.
Awesome. Merry Christmas, everybody. Also, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you are celebrating. Thanks for listening.
Merry Christmas.
Happy
holidays.
By the hand. Ah, ba, ba, ba.
I'm loving it.